Okay, to make the Santa hat, you're gonna need 200 yards each of a red and a white medium worsted yarn. So acrylic, this is an acrylic, wool, whatever you want to choose. It doesn't need to be anything specifically, just as long as you are making gauge. Okay, and then for the hook, we're gonna need a 6mm USJ. That is what I use to get gauge. It may not work for you. You may need to adjust. So remember, if your stitches are tighter than what my gauge is reading, you're gonna go up a hook size, try 6.5 first, and then just keep working from there. If your stitches are too loose and it's reading bigger than what I have, go down a hook size, start with 5.5 and go down from there until you match gauge. That is needed for hats, otherwise it will not be the correct size. And then of course you'll need some scissors, yeah, these are scissors, and a yarn needle to weave in your ends, but go ahead and get the pattern in the link and we will get started. Okay, I'm jumping in here really quick. I just turned 47, and between typing all day and all the hours I spend knitting and crocheting, my hands and wrist have definitely started letting me know they're not as young as they used to be. So when Bob and Brad, that is the name brand, offered to send me their Hand Spa Pro hand massager for free, I was really curious about it, especially because it actually massages each individual finger and your wrist. So you can see it's covered here. I had another massager that I had purchased myself, and it does not do fingers, and it's not very good at the wrist. It doesn't really get it. With the Bob and Brad, it actually covers the entire wrist, and each finger has its own individual pocket, glove, whatever it may be. So this one really immediately caught my attention. It uses air pressure technology instead of hard rollers or vibration, so it feels like it's squeezing and releasing the tension in your hands and fingers. It's super relaxing, especially after a long day of working with yarn. And it's very tactile, like it's squishy up here, which is very interesting. It has 8-zone finger design, which means each finger gets its own little compression chamber. I wish I could show you the inside of this, but it's perfect when your hands are stiff from gripping needles or hooks for too long. And I get most of the pain right in my wrist, especially my right wrist. So it squeezes, it has a special spot that squeezes and makes it feel so much better. So that's my favorite part. It has a heating warmer that also, it warms up to like 108 degrees Fahrenheit in just a few seconds. So it feels really good, like if you're sore or your joints are achy after doing a long crafting session. I was using it just yesterday because my hands were hurting after crocheting for so many hours. So it has 3 settings and then 5 different intensity levels. So you have like a invigorating, a relaxing, and a revitalizing, I believe it is. And it's going right now. So I'm gonna put it right next to the microphone to see if you can hear anything. So it's very easy to like pick a different, whatever feels right for you, best for you. Whether you want something light and soothing or a bit deeper after marathon crocheting or typing days. So these are the modes. There's 5 different settings. So it can get very, very intense on this red level. And then you also have the heater that you can turn on to warm it up. So it's still kind of warm here where I am in Arizona, so I'm waiting for it to be winter and this actually be really wonderful. Right now it's a little too warm for me, but you can tell it's not loud at all. It's lightweight, quiet, has a 15-minute timer built in, so that way it'll just, keep going until it's time to stop, which I don't ever want it to stop because it feels so good. I don't know if you can, right now it's on my wrist and it squeezes it. It's so nice. I wish that I could just do a wrist setting. Bob and Brad, that's the next thing. Just get one for wrist really well. So if your hands need a little TLC after your latest project, this thing is the one to get. I will link it in the description if you want to check it out. I love this thing. And oh, it's USB-C charge, so compatible with your phone charger. So let me stop enjoying this and let's get back to the project. Okay, to get started on the Santa hat, we're going to start with the white. We're going to work from the bottom to the top. And the reason that we are using so much white is because to make it look kind of like a thick brim, we're actually just going to do a really long brim that rolls. So that's the reason behind that. So we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook, and then we're going to chain. I am doing the large beanie, the 22, because I think it should be bigger on you, not like a tight beanie, so I'm going for the largest size for myself. But the instructions in the description below will tell you what to chain for the smaller sizes, but I am going to be chaining 66. So start with your chains and then we'll come back to join and start our brim. Okay, here's my last chain. Now we are ready to join this in the round. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I don't have twisted stitches when I join. So I'm looking for the tops of my chain all the way down, untwisting everything as I go. As long as I've got both of those in the right direction, even if it starts twisting down here, we're okay. So I get to the bottom here, and then I kind of flip it around because we're working this way. So we need to flip it around so that the chains are pointing toward, or the bottom of it is pointing towards us. And then we're going to join in that first chain right past the slip knot. So with this, I don't care what loop I work into, so I'm just going to work into the back loop of everything. Because we're rolling this brim, you're not going to see the edging, so you don't need to work into the bottom bump or anything to be able to make it look pretty, because you won't see it in the end. So we're going to pull through that first chain and pull through the loop on our hook. So now we're joined. You can double check, make sure that nothing's twisted, but we're going to begin with round one. So for round one and every round after, we're going to be working in spirals. That way we don't have a visible seam. And that way you can wear the hat however you like, every which way. But to begin the very first one, I'm going to go ahead and just do a chain one. You can do one or not do one. It's not a big deal. But I'm going to work into that same stitch for my first single crochet. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to place a stitch marker so that I do not lose track of my rounds. I like these split ring ones. I'll link to these because they come off and go on nice and easy. I don't have to fiddle with like locking stitch markers. And I've never had it fall out because of kind of that little catch right there. It will kind of stop it from falling out. So then we are going to keep single crocheting. So I'm working into that back loop in each stitch and single crocheting all the way around. And so we'll do 66 for me around, and then we'll come back at round two just so you see how we're joining and making sure that, again, that our stitches are not twisted before we start round two. Okay, here I am at the last stitch of the round. So I wanted to do this to show you, just to be careful. You can still be twisted. You could still be a full twist off. You could accidentally get this twisted one whole turn, and then you'll have a whole twist that you're not going to be able to work a beanie. So make sure before you join this up that you kind of just, you can lay it flat and make sure that it's all matching up and that it's all facing the same way. Then start round 2. Once you get to round 2, you don't have to worry about that anymore, but that very first round you can still get twisted on, so you got to be careful. So we're going to go ahead and go straight into that first stitch because we're working in spirals, and do that single crochet. And again, put that stitch marker back because you are going to lose track if not. Then we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to single crochet all the way around, and we're going to continue that for a total of 29 rounds. So this is a great project to watch TV as long as you're keeping track of your rounds. So go watch a movie and work on 29 rounds, and then we'll come back for the next portion of the pattern. Okay, here we are at the end of round 29. So for round 30, we're going to do one more round of the white, but we're going to stop at the last stitch of the round to change colors. So keep doing single crochets around for round 30, and then we'll come back at the very last stitch so we can switch over to red. And you may notice that you have quite a bit of white left. That is because we still have to make the pom-poms, so that will be our final item to do. But next, we'll be adding in our red. So I'll see you right at the end. Okay, here I am at the last stitch, so I'm going to change color during the last stitch. So I'm going to pull up my loop to start my single crochet, but I'm not going to finish it in the white. I'm going to grab my red here and pull that through and leave a tail long enough to weave in. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. Okay, and then I'm ready for round 31. So don't worry about this getting pulled out. You can tighten that when you weave in your ends. You can go ahead and also fasten off that white, but for the next 20 rounds, so rounds 31 through 50, you are just going to keep on single crocheting with the red. So all single crochets, no decreasing, nothing, just 20 rounds of red. So get going on that, and we'll meet up right at the end of round 50. Okay, I've finished round 50. Now we are going to start slightly decreasing. So we're going to decrease really slowly to get the triangle shape of the Santa hat. So for 51, round 51, we're going to first start with it and single crochet 2 together. So we're going to insert into the first stitch of the round, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch of the round, pull up another loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. So we've decreased 1 stitch. Place that stitch marker, and then we're going to single crochet 9 times. So in the next 9 stitches. And this is going to get us to 60 stitches in the large. You'll see the count for the rest of them in the pattern. And it's going to vary, so make sure you're checking the pattern because you're not going to do 9 stitches. If you're doing the smaller patterns, it's going to be less. It'll be like 8 and 7. So once you get to the end of that, let me see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 more. Oops. Then you're going to repeat that. So we're just going to keep doing that all the way around 6 times. So again, we're going to insert, pull up a loop, next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So we're going to continue that around. Then for rounds 52 through 55, you're just going to single crochet. So no decreasing, it's just going to be regular single crochet. So we're going to go ahead and come back at the end of round 55 for the next instruction. So continue your decreasing on this round, and then 52 through 55 is just single crochet. So I will see you at the end of round 55. Okay, here I am at the end of round 55. Moving on, we're going to do another decrease. So at the beginning of round 56, we're going to do another single crochet 2 together. So insert in the next stitch and the next stitch and pull up those loops and pull through all 3. Don't forget that stitch marker. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 8 stitches. So that's going to give us a total of 9 for our repeat. And when we do that 6 times around, we'll have 54 stitches at the end of the round. So again, we're going to single crochet 2 together, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 8 stitches. Let's see how many I've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to do that all the way around, which is a total of 6 times. And then for the next few rounds, so rounds 57 through 60, we're just going to single crochet. So again, we're just decreasing gradually so we get that Santa hat shape. So pay attention for this round, and then you can veg until round 60, and then we'll come back and do some more decreasing. Remember to look at the pattern if you're making a different size than large, because it's going to be less stitches for the decrease. So for small, it will be 6 stitches, and for the medium, it will be 7 stitches in between each decrease. So I'll see you right at the end of round 60. Okay, here's my last stitch of round 60. We're now moving on to 61, which is going to be another round of decreases. So take that stitch marker, do a single crochet 2 together to start with, put that back. And then we are going to, for the large size, crochet in the next 7 stitches, and then 6 for medium, 5 for small. And this is going to give us a total of 56 stitches for the large at the end, because it's going to be a repeat of 8 total stitches. So the single crochet 2 together is 1, and then 7 single crochets. So we do that 6 times around to get our stuff. And let's see what we're at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, we're going to single crochet 2 together, and then we're going to do 7 regular single crochets. So continue that around. Then we're going to do just rounds of single crochet again. That's going to be round 62 through 65. And then you probably guess what's coming after that. More decreasing. So continue on. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will see you right at the end of round 65, where we'll pick up and do some more decreasing. Okay, here I am at the end of round 65, and now we're moving on to 66, where we're going to do some more decreasing. So we'll start off with that single crochet 2 together. And you might notice the pattern that we're doing. We're decreasing the amount of stitches in between our decreases by 1. So the last time we decreased, it was a total of 7 stitches. And this time it's going to be 6. So we're going to do 6 stitches in between each single crochet 2 together, then 5 and 4 for the smaller sizes. So that will give us a total of 42 stitches, because we'll do it 6 times again. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then kind of in the same vein, we're going to do that all the way around. And then rounds 67 through 70, we will be doing just regular single crochet again. So I think you're getting kind of the gist of how this is going to go. And I think I just did 7. I lost my place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So continue with the decreasing for this round, and then single crochet in every stitch till you get to the end of round 70, and then we'll do some more decreasing. So I'll see you at the end of round 70. Okay, here I am at the end of round 70, and we're moving on to 71 with some more decreasing. So we'll do our single crochet 2 together. And then the last one was 6 stitches apart. This one's going to be 5 stitches apart, or 3 and 4 for the smaller sizes. We're getting more of, we're getting that triangle going on, so we're getting closer. So again, we're going to do a single crochet 2 together, and then single crochet in the next 5 stitches. We'll do that 6 times around for a total of 36 stitches. I think I got 6 or 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll be doing some more single crochet again. So we're gonna go 72 to 75 with just single crochets, just like we've been doing, and then we'll come back and decrease some more. So go ahead and keep on going to round 75. I think I stopped counting somewhere. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. See you at the end of round 75. Okay, here I am at the end of round 75. And I took that out before I got there. So we're going to do another decrease. So I'm going to explain the rest of the decreases and we'll meet up at the end, because after this decrease, it changes depending on the size that you're making. So if it's a small, medium, or large. But we're going to do the single crochet 2 together as normal. And this time we're doing 4 between. So as you've probably kind of seen, we do the decrease and then we do 4 rounds of just single crochet. So we always end on like a multiple of 5. So for this one, it'll be the 76 is the 4 stitches in between. Then we'll go 77 to 80, just single crocheting. Then we'll come back for 81. And actually, this is the second to the last before the instructions change, depending on your size. But in 81, then we'll put 3 in between, and you'll go 82 to 85, just single crocheting. Then 86, we'll put 2 in between, 4 rounds of single crochet to, where do we end up there? So 86 was 2, then we'll go to 90, and then 91, it'll be single crochet 2 together and 1 stitch, and then we'll go all the way up to 95 with just the single crocheting. And then we're going to come back at round 96 so that we can finish everything up. So again, single crochet 2 together, 4 in between, do your single crochets, then 3, then 2, then 1. So we'll get just the perfect triangle Santa hat out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll meet up on round 96. So grab the pattern if you haven't yet to keep track of everything. And then we'll meet up for that and do the finishing and make a pom-pom and be done. Okay, I'm on the last stitch of round 95. You might notice that my stitch marker changed. It actually fell out at some point when I was working and I cannot find it. So I had to kind of work my way backwards. So if you do have that problem, let me tell you what I did. I started where the beginning is, and then I kind of worked my way up because it's in spirals, so it's going to travel a little bit, but I kind of worked my way up until I got to the last single crochet 2 together. So I knew, because it was kind of in this area. So I found that, and then I counted from there, where I figured the row should end or the round should end. So I probably am off a little bit, but it still works. So if you lose your stitch marker, don't fret. You can still work it out for the most part. It's not going to kill you if you got 1 or 2 extra stitches in there. So I'm on round 96. This is the last round for the large size, and we are going to be doing just single crochet 2 together all the way around. So this will reduce us down to 6 stitches total, and I'm still putting the stitch marker in so I know when to stop because I don't want to keep on going. And almost there. See, I got quite the triangle going. And then once we finish that, we're going to close this off. About to lose. It's always fun to try to work in stitches when it's very tight and closed. Here's the last one. Okay, so to finish this off, we are going to cut our tail. So we're gonna bring it long enough so that way we can cut and weave in. Losing my hook. Okay, let me get one of my yarn needles here. If you haven't seen my Instagram, I buy vintage glasses at the thrift store, and then I have all of my notions in them in my cabinet behind me. So this is just perfect size for all of my needles. This one might be kind of big, but whatever. I like big eyes. I don't like having to have difficulty when I'm threading. Okay, so we're gonna weave in and out of these last last 6 stitches. So I'm gonna go in through the top 2 loops. Then I'm gonna come back to the next one, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you can keep going around too. You can go around more than that. I'll go one more. And then you're going to pull that close, and it's going to close your hole. And then we'll weave all of this in. I'm going to go to the inside of it actually, but I'm not going to weave this in yet. I'm going to start working on my pom-pom, so that way we can just keep on going. And I love these Clover pom-pom makers. They make making pom-poms so simple. I am doing the largest size I have, which I think this is a 3-inch. And I have a bunch of tutorials on making different kinds of pom-poms, like 2 colors. I have a bunch of them, so I'll link to the pom-pom tutorials. But what we're gonna do is we need to wrap the yarn around each of these sides. So you kind of like hold it together, overlap it so it'll get stuck there. And then you're just gonna wrap it a bunch, and you want to get it nice and full. So I'm gonna use up the rest of the white doing that. But it needs to be able to close. So you'll notice, like, if you get too much, you won't be able to close it. So you have to kind of check that as you're going. But this is not even close to how much we need. All right, I think I'm good. I think I'm going to leave it at that. And then you just cut that off. You have to do both sides. Oops. Okay. Now you want to be careful that you're not popping that one open, and really careful on the step after this. But let me wrap this one real quick. Okay. I have yarn left over. I could probably make this even beefier if I wanted to, but I think this will be fine. So the next step is you need to be careful. keep your fingers on these little tabs. This is what open and closes it, because we have to cut this before we tie it. So there's a channel right through the center, and we have to cut all of the yarn before we tie it. So if it opens, you're gonna lose everything. So keep your fingers on that closed. Okay, I'll do the other side. It's pretty tight, so it's not like you don't have to worry about it. Let me do it this way, how I was doing the other one. But this part always makes me nervous. Okay. All right. And if you're using yarn that can break easily, get a different yarn to do the next step, because you want to tie it really tight. So you're going to bring the yarn through that channel, and I'm going to make it long enough so that I can like tie it to the hat. And I'm going to show you something cool that I got for that. So that should be good. Okay. We are going to knot this guy up. So make your knot and then pull it, and it's going to go to the center of the pom-pom. And this is why you don't want yarn that can break, because it will break when you're trying to tie it. So I'm going to do a couple knots so it doesn't come undone. Okay. Now time for the reveal. So we're going to pop that open and see how we have our half a pom-pom. Pop this guy open, and then it pulls apart. And then we have our cute little pom-pom. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit, get kind of the ones that are like kind of sticking out a little bit, and then put it onto the hat and finish it off, and then we'll come back and look at the finished hat. Okay, now I need to attach my pom-pom. So I'm going to put one piece of yarn on and pop it through, one side of the top of the hat and pull that through. I'm not going to turn it inside out just yet. Okay. If I can let go of the needle. Then we're going to do the other side, because you want it on different spaces, because you can't put it through the same hole, otherwise it's not going to stay attached. There. Okay. So you got that on there. Now I'm going to use one of my new little beanie buttons. So if you've seen my recent video, you've seen these guys. If not, go check that out. What are you waiting for? But let me show you, and I should have kept my needle on for the first one at least, but let me flip this inside out so we can put that on. All right, first let me make sure this needle can get through this hole, otherwise I'll need to size down. Yeah, not quite gonna fit. Let me get a thinner one. Perfect. Okay. So these are customizable, these little buttons, and I got my logo on them, but you can get like made with love or remove before washing, and these are awesome because that's basically what they're there for. They are to help you attach your pom-pom, and then you can take them out when you need to wash your beanie. So pull those two through. And I'll pull that down tight. And then you also have notches so that if you have a beanie with an elastic or a pom-pom with an elastic, you can put it around that spot. So check out that video. I show how that works if you want to see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and do my tie. And I'm just going to do a bow so that way it's easy to take off when I need to. And I can cut off all these extra ends because I don't need that much room. But keep it long enough that your needle will still work well. As in, you have to be able to thread it and pull it all the way through, so you don't want to cut it too short. So I'm going to cut about the length of my loops that I made. Then pop back through and it's nicely attached. So let's go look at the final hat and do some finishing thoughts. Okay, so the last thing that you just need to do is to roll this up. So I do it in thirds, but you can kind of adjust it however you like. And then that gives you that kind of, you know, thicker brim that you see on a Santa hat, but without, you know, the fur. But this is a very cute little homemade Santa hat. So I hope you enjoyed making this as much as I did. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bells because I'm going to be doing a ton of more free patterns just like this. And I am Deja with Knit and Crochet Ever After, and thank you for watching.